Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds. It's Senna, the Crazy Geek Crafter, and this is my Christmas tree advent calendar in 3 parts. Now, the first part, this part, is about building the actual tree, and the next 2 are about decorating. Part 2 is decorating the gray version, and part 3 is decorating the green version. So maybe you just want to watch the first one if you just want to see the construction of the tree. I've designed this box on my ScanNCut and cut out 24 of these boxes, 24 in green, 24 in gray, since I'm making 2 trees. In Denmark we host Christmas on the 24th, that's why I only need 24 boxes. And here's how it comes together. I tried to design it so I could get as much out of a piece of paper as possible. And now I just have to score everything, which I'll do on my sofa. And now I'll build the boxes. Each box is designed to be able to hold a classic Ferrero Rocher. That means I can also put in mini bars of Mars and Snickers, stuff like that. And I haven't bought the chocolates yet, but I will pretty soon. The green box is for my boyfriend and the gray box is for my mother. And they will have 2 very different designs when it comes to decorations, but the construction is all the same. When planning out this advent calendar, I played around with different combinations of layered boxes. Of course, the original inspiration is from Fawn. I think 3 years ago they came out with a box you could die cut, and they made this inspiration for an advent calendar shaped like a tree. I never got the Fawn box, and I never attempted this project with any of the box dies I have, because it will actually be too hard on my back. That's why I made my ScanNCut do this. But I played around with the number of boxes I would need to make a 24 calendar, and I ended up with 3, 5, 7 and 9 boxes. And if you wanted to up that to 25, you could just exchange the 6-sided pyramid on the top with a box, and that would make 25. In addition to the boxes, I'll be making a base for the tree and a topper. And now the topper and the base I actually did twice. The first base was too big, it was too high, it made the proportions of the tree look weird. And the first topper I made round, and that so didn't work with the more square look of these trees. The tiers are put together with hinges, and I open up the boxes to make it easier to put them on right. I put a hinge on each box, and then I put the boxes together. So if I had put it on the wrong side, I would be in trouble. Constructing the tree would have taken me about a weekend, maybe a long weekend. But I had some design troubles along the way, which I wasn't able to correct until I had mulled over the solutions. That's why during this video you will see sometimes the tree is decorated and sometimes it's not, because I actually finished decorating the gray tree before I redid the bottom and the top of both the trees. I have cut the video so it looks like one process, one continuous process, and if you wanted to do your own tree, you'd be able to follow the video instead of me making something, taking it off, decorating, and then finishing the tree. Then I put all the construction of the tree into one video for you. After putting all of the boxes together, you would be making the base, like I am here. Of course, like I just told you a minute ago, this actually happened far later in the process, but this is how I made the bottom. I have 3 circles, and then these long pieces with tabs, which I've curled with my fingers, and now I'm just extending this piece since it was too short to reach all the way around the bottom. Bending in the tabs on one side, I'm preparing to glue the first circle, which is this one. And I recycled it from the former drum I made. The drum is the same size, it's just smaller in height. I didn't like the height of the first one I made. But I prefer to start in the middle of where I have the tabs and work my way around. Since I designed this pattern on my canvas for my ScanNCut, the length doesn't really fit, so I just cut off the unnecessary tabs. And now I can glue on the other side of the drum. This will be where I attach it to the tree. This is the less sturdy bottom. I decided to do it this way since it's easier to put a circle inside and then glue the tabs than trying to glue them at the edge like I'm doing here when there's nothing holding it to the right shape. Now I'm just gonna hide all the tabs by gluing on another piece that will make the bottom extremely sturdy since I already have a double layer of cardstock from the previous drum. Now attaching the boxes in a perfect well, it's not really a circle, but close to, was quite the challenge. Now this is also the old drum, which was black. I decided to change it to gray when I did the low profile one. But I'm trying to use one of my dies to hold the shape to get it as close to perfect as possible before I glue on the drum. When I glued the first 2 layers, I didn't much pay attention to whether or not my tree was leaning to one side, but I do remember here on the 3rd layer, that's why I'm turning it around, to make sure that it's not leaning to any side. For the top part, I had this circular piece that I didn't like, so I took it off and I squashed it with 3 points. And then I figured maybe 6 would be better. So I'm drawing out the top of the tree here on my paper so that I can better plan how to hide the glue seam from the last topper and make something somewhat symmetrical to put on top. This is why I love math. Math solves everything. Now I'm not the best at explaining math, but after drawing out the top of the tree, I figured out how wide the sides of my 6-sided pyramid should be, and then I took the previous topper and I tried to figure out how high I wanted it, and now I'm just gonna draw out a template in paper so I can get a feel for how it would look the way I was imagining it. And I believe the sides are 4 centimeters, 5.5 centimeters, and so on and so forth, since the sides between the boxes are bigger than the ones on the boxes. Now this is just a mock-up, trying to help me to decide how to design it in my canvas. Now that I have my 6-sided pyramid assembled, I decided that the size is right, and I'm gonna take my measurements and go to the computer and design a file to cut it out. And I love this thing. Look at it go. I saved so much time and so much pain on this. I only made fold lines actually for the top of this tree. I'm gonna cut out everything else by hand, since I'm still getting a feel for the shape. The piece I have made looks very much like the drawing you saw earlier. Here I'm just gonna cut some slits for the flaps on the bottom. There were not flaps on my drawing before, since I needed something to keep the pieces together. But I only need flaps on the short sides, since they will be on top of the boxes and the others will be free floating. So I'm cutting those off here on the dashed line. You can actually feel when you get in the right groove for them. When I fold them here, I think you get a better idea of the shapes I have. Then I plan out which sides will be the gluing tabs and which sides will be the cutting side. So there'll be one free side and one tab side. So all the pieces are actually going to be disconnected and then glued back together. But this was the easiest way to make it in my machine. And I'm just going to mark every side so I get them in the right order. And you can see the pyramid start to take shape. Just like I've adjusted the gluing tabs every time I've glued one on, I also have to adjust the length of the white pieces. They were a bit too long, since I just focused on having the right height at the center of the triangle and not actually having the same length of the sides. But it all worked out. I could trim it to fit with everything. And now I'm gonna glue it on. And look at that. It's perfect. It hides my mistakes, and that means I'm ready to decorate. So like I said earlier, if you want to see the gray one decorated, you go to number 2, and if you want to see the green one, that's video number 3. And if you feel you've learned all you can from this project, I will be wishing you a good day, evening or night. Until next week.